everyone, I just finished editing my video with Evan Sofer. I want to give a shout out to my brother and sister-in-law. Evan helped them purchase their first home, so that is how I was able to get connected with Evan. If you're interested to be a real estate agent or just want to know what it's like to be one, or if you just want to be inspired of just going for your dreams, going at it, this is the video for you. Stay tuned and comment down below what you loved about the interview, learn, or just want to say hello. Do so down below. Now, enjoy. Hello everyone, I am here with Evan Sofer, the top 1% realtor in the United States, right? So that is amazing. I'm very excited to do this interview, and my first question is very simple. Just want to know where you're from, what your childhood is like, what you're into.
Sure, so thanks for having me. So I actually am one of the few that was born and raised in South Florida. So I've lived here my entire life in Southeast Florida, but I'm from West Boca.
West Boca?
Yeah, from West Boca.
What were you into as a child? Were you always like into sports? Were you into video games?
Yeah, so I was full into sports. Full into sports. Played basketball a lot. Played all different sports. So definitely was active in that sense. And I loved the Miami Heat so much that when I was a kid, I even was lucky enough to be on TV with the Heat doing broadcasting, and that kind of rolled into, I guess, what I'm doing now in a sense.
Awesome.
But yeah, so I was Miami Heat crazed. Yes, for sure.
Wow. So like, how did you meet with those broadcasters?
Yeah, so
how did that happen?
We had season tickets when I was a kid. We were actually up in nosebleeds. And but my dad would take me all the time to the games, and literally one day we got there super early. We sort of snuck down for the shoot around, and long story very short, my dad sort of opened his mouth and talked to some of the broadcasters down there when we were down there for the shoot around hours before the game, and was basically like, "What would you do if I told you this kid knows just as much as you guys?" And I was like 10. So, they smiled and laughed and kind of thought it was a joke. But then, of course, I start spitting facts to them. From there, it actually just snowballed. And I think they interviewed me, and it was a whole thing. And long story again short, I've been on TV now several times with them as I've gotten older. And now, every single year, the Miami Heat do what's called a Kids Day, where they have kids as the reporters and the broadcasters. And I was the first one.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
My brother, I'm not sure if you ever told my brother that, but I
don't
bet
know.
he would be jealous since my brother is a big sports fan in general.
I'll have to give him the details.
Yeah, you definitely have to. So I was also wondering, how did you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I started my real estate journey when I was only 18. I started when I was 18, first year in college over in the West Coast, Florida Gulf Coast University. And what happened was my dad, again, sent me a real estate book of one of those guys from the $1 Million Listing shows. And I am not a book reader at all. But for whatever reason, this book had me hooked, literally. So I couldn't put it down. So first semester in college, first month within college, and I'm sitting there reading a book in my dorm room. And literally I read this whole book in like a week, which is very unusual for me, but it just hooked me. Everything about it. And basically I started calling around local real estate offices asking, can I intern? Can I come there and help with the open house setups? Can I answer the phone? Can I do social media? And I would go into all these different real estate offices and non-dress clothes because I didn't have any. And started just working for free there, and just slowly but surely, after years of working at all different real estate offices in Southwest Florida, went from open houses to social media for the agencies to answering the phones to doing rentals. And by the time I was about 21, I was like full-time real estate agent and sort of doing school on the side.
You said a couple interesting things, because as a family, we love Bravo, but $1 Million Listing New York specifically, the New York one, we were always interested in that. Did you watch that show before you read the book?
Oh yeah, so no, the book was my I guess, segue or tunnel into all the different shows.
Yes.
So I then watched the shows and loved all of them. Been lucky enough to meet several of those realtors in the years since, but I very quickly learned that, it's not, real estate is not, selling a $40 million house in 40 minutes of television. You know what I mean? So it's a great show, obviously. And like I said, I've met some of them. It's amazing, but it's the real world, reality hit in really quickly.
So you mentioned, when you were interning, that you did social media, and as we know in general, social media is constantly changing. What have you seen when you first started today with social media?
Yeah, so it seems to have only gotten, more important, I would say. But I'm so happy that I started doing it when I did, because I've had so many people that, maybe we were acquaintances in middle school or just for whatever reason, we have each other on social media, and I've now worked with them since, and they would tell me all the time, I'm so happy you shared what you did for a living, being a realtor, because if not, I never would have known. I wouldn't have known to use you, you know? So it's like literally just sometimes letting people know what you do. It sometimes is all work, for you. But it's gotten even more important, obviously. Now it's more important than ever.
Yeah, because I looked on your website, and I know you also have Instagram, which I'll put everything in my bio.
Thank you.
But I saw that you make videos of you touring the houses, and as somebody who just loves to go on Zillow, yes, photos are fantastic. And sometimes I do love when they do have the virtual tours, but the fact that you do actual videos within the house, as someone who's not buying a house, we're just looking, it's still very important, and it gives that more of a personal feel as well.
Right, 100%. It's pictures and even videos can only go so far. But I always videos are big, because in South Florida there's so many people moving here from out of state. I mean, I would say since I've started, I would say 20% of my clients who are looking to buy are coming from out of state, that many. So maybe even more, honestly. So a video sometimes is they can get a feel for it because they're not here in person, rather than only pictures. But seeing in person is the top, for sure.
Oh yes, definitely. So I know your office, we're here in Boca Raton, but you don't only just sell houses in Boca Raton, right?
That's right, So I go as south as Miami to as north as Port St. Lucie. So basically anywhere in Southeast Florida, I'm there. I even have listings over in Lake Okeechobee area, but the majority of business I do, of course, is here in Palm Beach County. I live here, the office is here. So Palm Beach County is, the majority of the business.
Do you have a favorite city they like to sell? Does it change over time?
Yeah, I would say it changes over time. I would say it used to be Boca. I still love, because it's where I grew up. So it's always nostalgic for me, touring some neighborhoods that I used to, either live in or have friends in or things like that. But, recently it seems like my business has taken me even north of Palm Beach County because of the prices, or the more north in Palm Beach County you go, the more bang for your buck you'll get. So I would say lately it's been more Boynton, Lake Worth, West Palm, and even north of Palm Beach County.
Now, to go back a little bit when you first started, what was it like selling your first property? What were you feeling during that?
Yeah, it was an indescribable, excitement, you know? So for me, the intro for me to get involved with sales was doing rentals. And it was sort of picking up any business or opportunities that other agents, busier agents, more successful agents, honestly, they would say they didn't have time for, or couldn't deal with. It was too much for them. So I would say, I'll do anything. I was just so hungry for anything. And it turned into me doing a lot of work with rentals. And, a lot of tenants generally will turn into buyer clients. So that was sort of the case where I was over in Naples, and there was somebody that we were working with them for a short-term vacation rental over in Vanderbilt Beach in Naples. Yes, and they were renting for only 2 months. It was an expensive rental just for a vacation, And it was something where they told me on the phone that I was the first agent to answer their phone call about a 2-month rental, a very expensive rental, but also a 2-month rental.
Yes.
So a lot of agents, didn't want to do it for whatever reason. And we talked a bunch before their upcoming trip. And when they got there to Naples, they said, the real reason we're here is we're going to spend the next 2 months looking to make, a temporary to permanent move here. And, because you went over and beyond for us for a 2-month rental, we'd like to use you. And that was my first ever buyer client. But the feeling was just, an indescribable excitement, so like grateful that they chose me, because there's a lot of choices out there, and I still feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like, and this can go for any career or just in life in general. It's, I said like a lot of realtors thought, all right, it's just 2 months. There's probably someone else where probably get more money out of it. But sometimes, you just have to just be open, and sometimes when you're just open, and so much can come back to you in so many different ways, whether it's like career-wise or just in life-wise, so I think it was meant to be the way that it was meant to be.
100%. And they've turned into, amazing clients of mine. We still keep in touch. They're amazing. So it's something where, they were happy for me, and I was more than grateful for the opportunity. But once that happened, once you, in this business, once you sell a home, you can really use that to gather business in the future. Or once you work in a new community, you can use that hopefully to get more business in that community. So that was, the starting point for sure for that.
Now, when you help with clients, do you help like usual say people, repeating clients? Does that happen a lot for you? Yeah.
So, I'm very, very lucky that the majority of my business is referrals from past clients. I have many clients where, I've worked with several members of the family or their friends or loved ones. And that's literally in this business the best possible compliment you can have. Because, I know for me, I would not refer my family member to just any professional out there. Even not a realtor, but just anybody. I'm very selective, with who I want working with a family member. So I take it very seriously when someone, recommends me to someone they love, and they care about. So that is definitely the majority of the way I've gotten business over time.
What has been the craziest deal that you've ever done?
Okay, so I'll share this. Hopefully this is okay, I'm sharing this. So I won't say any details or where it was or anything, but I got a call one day from somebody from the Northeast, and they said that they got my number from a recent client of mine. And they said, a family member of mine needs to sell a home that they are part of the estate within the ownership, and would you be interested in selling the house? And I said sure, but it always doesn't happen that easily, so it's like, here, you want to, so they said okay, but it's a little bit of a unique situation. I'm like, no problem, I deal with very unique situations a lot, but I was not expecting this. They said okay, well, this situation, basically there was just a double murder in the house. So, and it was a very expensive home as well. So, I called a lot of people that I knew, and real estate attorneys, people that I trust in the business, my broker, and said, what do you guys think I should do? What's the disclosure situation? How does this all work? Is this something I should get involved with or not? Again, contacted multiple real estate attorneys to find out what was, needed, what's not needed, what needs to be disclosed or what doesn't have to be, if anything. And it was something where, again, the home was over $1 million, and I went to the home with, one of the representatives of the estate, and again, they told me, oh, there's nothing in the home. There's, the home's clean, the home. Anyways, to spare all the details, the home was not clean. So it was something where I actually ended up working still on the sale. The home is sold, and it's totally fine situation now, and the home's clean. But I actually said, I'm never going back in this house. I just couldn't do it. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't worth the money. So I actually just assisted with paperwork. I assisted with the formalities of the deal, but I actually ended up calling another realtor I'm close with here within the company, who is more brave than me, I guess. And they handled a lot of the showings and the day-to-day. So I was involved with it, but that's probably the craziest I've been involved with, yeah.
Which is interesting, how that story, happened. Because my next question was going to be, like, have you ever said, like, no to a job?
Yeah.
And I guess that's one
In
example.
Yeah.
And is it hard to say no when you see these homes? And if so, like, why would you say no? Is it because of the people you're working with? Are they difficult?
Yeah, it's definitely happened before. It's definitely not something that happens a lot. I could deal with a lot, honestly, but it's just extenuating circumstances like that, or if things go beyond the lines of professionalism with the client and the realtor, things like that, or again, like, we're being asked to do things that are outside of the scope of our job. Sometimes, no matter how much money is on the line, just isn't worth sometimes the stress that can come along with it.
Yes.
But again, it hasn't happened very often. Usually once you talk to somebody and you explain where you're coming from, they understand. But that was one of the very few times I've said, I need to remove myself from the situation. Yeah.
That's a good thing. you gotta look out for yourself sometimes.
Yeah. I told you I'd give you a crazy story.
Yeah, that's a good story. What is like a day-to-day life as a realtor?
Yeah, so it's different every single day.
Yeah.
So it's different every single day because, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to get into real estate so I can make my own schedule, which again is true, but also not true, because in a sense, the great thing is there's no real schedule, but the bad thing is there's actually no real schedule. Just depends how you look at it. So a day-to-day could be, one day can be all office work on marketing, on future business, on sending people properties, on networking to meet people in the community. Another day can be running from, I'll be in 3 of the 5 main counties in South Florida in one day, waiting in HOA offices, going to inspections in a house that's distressed. Weekends can be from open houses to, being on the phone to doing paperwork. So it's really, day to day is so different. So what's important for me is every single day, I map out the things I need to accomplish the next day. And that's really helped me, stay in the moment day to day, because you can start getting overwhelmed easily.
Yeah. I imagine to do what you do, you really have to be organized.
Or you just have to have a system that works for you. Everybody really has a different way of doing it. If you listen to 20 realtors, they'll tell you 20 different methods they have. So you just have to do what's best for you. The thing is, literally no home is perfect. It doesn't matter if doesn't matter the price. It could be an ultra luxury brand new home. If you get the home inspected, you're gonna find a few things off. It's just matter of fact. So it's just, can we check the majority of boxes for you? Because honestly, it's just, in South Florida real estate, it's very difficult to get every single one of your boxes checked. That's just an amazing bonus. But we want to make the client as comfortable as possible. And if there's anything like an ice maker or like a appliance or anything with the home that's not 100% the way they want it, can we educate them about how to replace it? Can I assist with replacing it? There's a lot of things we could do, but we just want to make them as comfortable as possible given the circumstances.
So it's good. When we talked about $1 Million Listing New York, I was wondering, when I do showings, and sometimes, like for example, Ryan, he does sometimes these big showings to get people interested. Is that just for show, or in real life, do you guys do these crazy showings?
I've seen it, before. We've done some outside of the box things for sure. Honestly, nothing really like that. I don't know if a lot of that is just for the show. You know what I mean? Or if that's how it would be if there was no cameras. But the real thing to take from that I've always tried to apply to is that you have to get as many eyes and ears and senses on the property as possible.
Yeah.
So honestly, anything you can do that's legal to get eyes and attention on the property is the best thing you could do, because there's obviously so many different homes to choose from. So that's really the number one thing, which is a great thing to take away, is that when you are selling a home, anything you can do to get as much attention on the home as possible, because it's just a numbers game, and all you need is one buyer. You know, all it takes is one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was like the quickest deal that you ever done with the house or any property?
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly had clients who, you know, have purchased the first home we saw, for sure. I had recently a client, you know, close in less than 2 weeks. We've had a client close in a week. You know, 1 week starting the process, next week they're in the home. That's pretty much the quickest it will be. That's not the majority. I just want to make that clear. That's not the majority. You know, the average length for a home sale is a closing in South Florida generally will be between 30 and 90 days. And that's once you find the home. You know, so it could take you a week, a month, a year to find the home, and then the closing generally is between 30 and 90 days.
Yeah. I imagine you've seen so many of these crazy, beautiful homes, and a lot of them are people's dream homes.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, going to all these houses, do you have anything that you've seen that you're like, oh, I would love this as my next home, as my dream home? Whether or not it's like a jacuzzi, I'm not sure if you actually have one in your current house. Is there anything like that you see?
Sometimes, you know, there's things where I'm like, okay, I need to take a picture of this to show my wife or whatever it is. So for sure, you know, there have been those moments. Yes, there have been those moments. But, you know, honestly, I really see like the beauty in a variety of different home styles. You know, I love the more like northern look of homes sometimes too.
Same.
You know, which, but I also love sometimes the super modern, of course, as well, or the coastal feel. So I like see what people fall in love with for so many different styles.
Yeah. So I would like to now start talking about how you got into your podcasts.
Yeah, thank you.
How did that start?
Yeah, thank you. So basically I've been doing this radio show that we have on podcast platforms as well, but it's really a radio show that we've had now for 3.5 years. So, you know, a little bit ago I told you about my love with and experience with the Miami Heat, being a broadcaster. So, you know, I've always had that itch in me, in a sense, or that passion. So, you know, when this opportunity came up, it was something where I've always tried to set myself apart or make myself unique from the never-ending ocean and sea of realtors out there. You know, because everyone knows so many. So it's like, what's something extra I can do to educate the public about real estate, or first-time home buyers about real estate, or what's something I could do to promote my listings aside from just doing all the quote-unquote realtor things like pictures and photos and magazine advertisements or local mailers or open houses. I can also talk about homes on the radio. So it's just a great platform for my clients as well, and for me, obviously. So we've been doing it now for 3.5 years. We were with one station for over 3 years. We were with one station, and then recently we got this opportunity to move to one of the radio stations under the iHeartRadio umbrella. So now we are on one of their local stations here in South Florida, and we're on all of the national platforms for iHeartMedia. So it's just overall, though, it's great because, again, it's a great thing for my clients because I can promote and discuss what makes their home excellent on the show.
So I'm guessing you've definitely seen an increase of buyers since starting this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, literally, I am working with clients right now, you know, who have met me through the show, which is great. And yeah, it's just a nice extra service that I can provide to my clients, and again, there's a lot of misinformation about real estate out there. It can be very overwhelming and confusing and stressful and expensive. So having this radio show is my little way of, you know, educating the public and helping them understand the real estate market. So that's like something I take seriously.
That's amazing. So it's amazing that you do that. Now, you got a new deal with ADTV, which is American Dream television network.
Yeah, you got it.
I didn't even have to look at this.
No, you're
cards.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, honestly, it's been the biggest, moment of my career this far for sure. It's so what she's saying is yes. Now I'm the host of a national television show. It's called The American Dream TV. The series airs on HGTV, Travel Channel, and then tons of streaming platforms like Apple TV, Prime, Amazon Fire, Roku, YouTube TV, and so much more. So it's really incredible, yeah.
And how did you get that gig?
Yeah, so it's something where I have a friend who's also a realtor down in Miami. He actually was going out for it and told me about it, and I said that sounds amazing. And I saw one day that he posted on his social media that I'm going to be the host of this national TV show, and I'm going to be highlighting the culture of Miami, and I could also share my listings on the TV show, and I'm going to be connecting with local charities, local schools, all that amazing stuff, and it just sounded awesome. So I asked him, do you know if, since they're coming to Florida and since they've been in so many other areas throughout the country, I mean, it's an Emmy-nominated, Telly Award-winning show. Yeah. I said, do you know if they're coming more north in Palm Beach? In Florida, not to step on his territory in Miami. And he said he will ask. I was like, I'm just the type of person that's like, okay, I'm gonna ask myself type thing. So I literally DM'd them on Instagram and just cold emailed them. Never spoken to them in my entire life, had no idea if they'd respond or reach back at all. Yeah. I wrote them an email saying, if you are looking to come more north in South Florida, here's a little bit about me. Yeah. Here's like what I can bring to the table, maybe versus others. If I'm open to anything you have in mind, I would love the opportunity. And they wrote me back the next day. And a few days later, we had an interview. Went through the casting and everything process. And they interviewed a ton of realtors in the area. And then, very fortunately, I got picked as now the new host of Palm Beach County. I'll say this to you. I've put myself out there like that so many times. But the thing is, you don't get as much as many times as you put yourself out there. So like it's. You might have to put yourself out there 10 times to get that one response. And trust me, there's been a lot of things I put myself out there for and never heard. So, I would say you just have to keep trying. And I know it could be discouraging at times, but if you have a real passion for it, you'll find it for sure.
Now, have you started filming?
Yep. So I filmed the first 2 episodes. One will be out in May. I don't know exactly when this will be up. Yeah. But one will be up in May. The other one in July. So for the first episode, actually, I interviewed the mayor of Boca Raton. So we sat just like this. His name is Scott Singer, the mayor of Boca for years now. All about the rich history of Boca. Boca is celebrating its 100th year of being a city. Wow. So we talked all about the history and the future of it. And then I also got to show some of my favorite spots within Meisner Park. Ooh. So we got into several different venues in Meisner Park, including iPick. They opened the doors for me before they opened. They opened the theater, and we did like a whole breakdown of all the amazing things you could do in that shopping center. And then we went to interview the mayor.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then the next segment we filmed that'll be out in July is I'm an ambassador for a charity that helps foster children here in Palm Beach County. It's called Speak Up for Kids, Palm Beach County. And they just had a fundraiser about a week and a half ago, like a big gala, a great auction. So we spent the whole segment highlighting them and just shining any light on that charity as much as possible.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'll put the charity once again down below.
Sure. That's great.
And then I have like 2 more official questions. We can still keep on talking afterward. I know you and your wife just had a baby girl not too long ago. And with everything that you've done, amazing stuff, what is something that when your daughter is older that you would want your daughter to learn or kind of take from everything that you've done so far?
Oh man, I'm gonna try not to get emotional now. No, you're good. It's just my daughter, like she like has me on a string, you know what I mean, type thing. I'm in big trouble. I can't say no to her already. She's only 9 months. It's the best answer I can give at this moment is is to go for whatever speaks to her, you know, for sure, and just to go out all out after whatever she's passionate about, even if that means getting rejected or putting yourself out there and not getting it back. It's just because even if something doesn't work out, which again, things haven't worked out for me at points either, but at least you will look back on it knowing that you did the very best you could, and having that, looking back on that is so much of a better alternative than looking back and wishing you tried something. So I would say, you know, for her to go all out on what she believes in and just what makes her happy, whether that's do it volunteering, whether that's a career, whether that's a hobby, whatever it is, or whether that's a person she loves, to go, you know, to give it everything in her being, would be the one thing I hope she takes off, just to, you know, to live life to the fullest, because this world is crazy and we never know what's around the corner.
That's an amazing answer. So since you're such a sports fan, you know how every sports teams have a mascot. What would your mascot be for your company?
What would my mascot be for sports or for real estate?
For real estate.
Oh.
That would best represent.
Okay. I don't know. That's a good question. I would say, I'm thinking of animals.
I know.
I'm thinking of animals. I'll say a dog.
Oh. Any specific dog?
I'll say a golden retriever. Yeah, like a good family dog. Because at the end of the day, it's, you know, so much of what I love doing, honestly and truly, is helping families. You know, it's helping families. Obviously, it helps them in the situation as well. You know, as someone who, you know, purchased a home when, you know, with their longtime significant other. And then, you know, in that home, you know, is where we got engaged and married, and where we had a child now. So, you know, and a golden retriever, I think, is what you think of when you think like a family dog, and that's just sort of what I have going on in my life at the moment. So I would say that.
Oh, I love
that. That's
you know,
awesome.
Before we end this, is there anything you want to say?
If there's anything I'd like to say, it's that for anyone out there who's overwhelmed with the real estate process, whether you're looking to buy or sell or rent or lease or invest, you know, the process can be overwhelming. Like I said earlier, it can be expensive, it can be stressful, and literally, honestly, what I've made of my career so far, I think almost all of my clients, if not all of them, will say this exact same thing without me provoking it in any way, is that Evan helped me and make the process as smooth as it can be, you know, and made the process as seamless and stress-free as possible. So I'd say, you know, if you're looking for a real estate agent to help explain to you every single step of the process where you won't be overwhelmed, reach out to me if there's anything I can do to help you. If you have any real estate questions, even if you're not looking to move for a year, whatever it is, I'm happy to help you plan and strategize, because, you know, again, I've lived in South Florida my whole life, and would love to help anyone who needs some guidance.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
I'm very impressed with your questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.